Okay. What is the point of being your authentic self? Pretty much everybody knows that if you get to be who you really are, that theoretically that can make you so happy. You know, that's like your truth, and everyone knows. I think everyone knows this. I have this strong aversion to not being myself, but most people know that if you pretend to be someone you're not, that's not very comfortable, and if you pretend to be interested in something you're not actually interested in, it can be exhausting. So when we think about it from that context, we realize the importance of being our true self and of being authentic and honest about who we are. The ultimate result of being our true selves with regards to our own life, I feel like is pretty obvious. I feel like everyone understands the importance there. But in Unicult, we also believe in a greater, grander purpose and a greater, grander result of authenticity. And that result comes from the belief that we have in Unicult that each of our hearts is a compass. And this compass guides us to divinity. And each of our hearts is on a harmonic spectrum that when we are letting our hearts radiate out our truest selves, that we become aligned with the harmony of the universe. It's just like a song. If we allow our hearts to radiate out in our beautiful, perfect tone, it's harmonious. Every person has a different true heart. Every person has a different authentic self. It's like saying that every person has a different note on the keyboard. And when we play it and we're all aligned, it actually creates a beautiful harmony. And it's not always easy to do that. And that's why our planet is currently in total discord. So when you're thinking about the ultimate result of this, and we realize that every person's true heart can radiate out a frequency that is aligned with the harmonious whole. And when we align all of our energies to that harmonious whole, that is a state of utopian paradise. We don't even know what that means because we live in such a state of discord on this planet. When you go onto Twitter and you get bombarded with political stuff, or you watch the news or you watch TV, there is a certain discordant energy that we feel, that we recognize, that really makes our bodies, and this is something that we are going to talk about too, is how your body feels. You can feel your spirit, you can feel your body shrinking, cowering, crumpling, feeling heavy, feeling sad, feeling sick. This discordant energy affects us on a psychic level, on a psychological level, on a spiritual level, and on a physical level. It affects all of our levels. When we are aligned harmoniously and we're very strong, we can build up an aura around ourselves so that discordant energy doesn't necessarily come into our reality. But more importantly, when we are aligned harmonically and we allow everyone else to be aligned in their truest self harmonically, we create a resonance in this reality that is beneficial for every person, every plant, every animal, it's beyond anything we can possibly begin to understand because we've never felt it. But please trust me when I say that the ultimate result of each of us following our true hearts is of the most divine order and of the most divine nature. Good morning. So, how do you find your authentic self? And I would love to hear from you all about how you found your authentic self. For me, I was raised in a way that was very material based. I was not really raised to be spiritual or religious. I had religion in my life at times, and it was confusing because I felt the spiritual truth of it, but my culture and the people around me thought that religion was stupid, or that it was dumb, or that it wasn't true, or that it was like a brainwash. And so I never really allowed myself to fully integrate with religion. And also it didn't satisfy me completely. But I felt like there was a deeper spiritual truth. And so eventually through this, I'll tell you my personal journey, through the use of cannabis and a lot of books. I read a lot of books, and I got to reading metaphysical books, and I started to understand that they were true. I started to see that It was not just, I mean, I read them as fantastical. I read them as entertainment at first. I thought, oh, I'm going to make fun of these people so much because it's just ridiculous that they think this is true. And that's literally the place where I started. And as I read them, I realized that a lot of the things they were saying were not ridiculous and that they were aligned with the truth. So as I became more spiritually attuned and spiritually awake, I found YouTube videos. I found a lot of different spiritual things that I knew were true. And then I think the hardest part was the bravery. It was the bravery of changing who I was, the bravery of standing up to the people in my life, and saying things that I knew that they would think were crazy, that they would look down on. And I had to stand up for myself and stand up for my truth and say, I actually think that I am an alien. And people I was dating or my family, they were like, that just sounds insane, And so it's about discernment, of course, but I'm not all about that. I really like to just say things as they are. Let's see. Some people say, I quit Christianity. I needed to not rely on incomplete systems. I do have if you go to popcult.today, there's an article about book recommendations that will change your thinking. Cannabis also helped you level up. Erin slowly brought herself into communities that she aligned with, and one day she met a very wonderful woman, trans woman, that chance meeting opened your eyes to the possibilities of what your true self was. So beautiful. Let's see. I push aside all guilt over what I think I should be doing and what I want, as long as I'm not purposely hurting another human living thing. That's how I follow my truest self. And I enjoy that marijuana gives me that peace marijuana gives me to think clearly. So you don't have to use cannabis, but it does help. It helps you blast through all the insecurity and fear that you feel about thinking something. I don't know how it works, but it really helps you just explore different ideas, and it really helps guide you up to these more fun ideas. Will says that he turned his focus inside instead of out. The highest inside can become a guide to truth. That is so true. So internal reality and external reality are both valid. And I think that that's where a lot of people trip up. We have been raised in our society to believe that external reality is the only truth, but our internal reality is absolutely more important, even, because it's the one that we have to live with every day. I have experimented with hallucinogenic drugs, but only very recently. So I came to all of these understandings personally without that, but that's, I think, just, I think my brain just naturally resides kind of on that frequency, which is interesting. So to find your authentic self, I think that if you are transgender, if you are gay, if you are very different from your parents, if you're a starseed, these types of people are going to have had to do a lot of soul searching. They're already going to have been on this path, because to be someone who is radically different from the box that you're expected to be in requires that you're already on that journey. You've already had to stand up for yourself and be who you really are. But this is a journey that never really ends, because the restriction that our society places on us is extremely complex and vast. So when we tap into who we really are and we say, well, for me, I say I am gender non-conforming, polyamorous alien who wants to be a famous pop star cult leader. And when I first realized that, maybe not all at once, I was pretty scared, because that's a lot to throw at anyone, let alone myself, even though it's true. So when you start to tap into your truth, so I think a lot of people, they ask me, people who are very, I'll say it this way, people who find it very easy to be normal. I don't necessarily think they are normal. I think there are certain people who find it very difficult to fit into the rigid structure of society, and I find that there are people who find it very easy to fit into the rigid structure of society. It doesn't mean that that's their true self or how they belong, but it does mean that it's just they have the capability to repress or suppress or change who they are to fit into society. People who are straight, let's say if you're a straight white male, you're going to have found it to be relatively easy. And I've had a lot of people who are, and I think that's why in Unicult we have more people who are already outside of society who understand these teachings, because they say, I am my true self. I did have to go through this. I have had to stand up to society. Society is toxic. Society doesn't let me be myself. I know that who I am is beautiful and valid, but I don't get credit in our society. People like that understand Unicult a lot easier, and so that's our main demographic. But it's our goal to reach everyone, and so we have to think about the people who are in society, who society is toxic to still, but they haven't necessarily been forced the same way that some of us have to step outside of their boundary of thinking. So it's sometimes people who are more easily indoctrinated by society come to me and they say, what does that even mean, your authentic self? And they don't even know. They say, how do you even know what that is? And the first time somebody asked me that, I was like, I thought they were joking, because like, who doesn't know who they are, who they really are, like fighting to be who they are in the world. And it's like, oh, that's just me, and that's, I'm sure a lot of you as well. But there are people who haven't had to fight. There are people who haven't had to just who they are is so similar to who they're told to be that they haven't figured out that they're not that yet. And no one is the same person that society tells us to be. There's not a single person who can fit into that box perfectly, because we are all completely unique. So if you are one of these people who says, I don't know what that means to listen to my true heart. I don't know what that means to be my authentic self. I don't know what that means to even look for it. Then it's about whim. It's about deep meditation and going inside yourself and saying, what do I wish to be? If I could be anyone, what would that be? And I think sometimes we get this conflated with our societal expectations of success. Oh, if I could be anyone, I'd be the ruler of the world, or I'd be a CEO, or I'd be rich, or I'd be famous, or I'd be this or that. But you have to dig deeper than that, because those are just societal understandings of success, and that's not necessarily your own success. So when you say, well, I want to be president, what is the energy that you really want from being president? Is it to be well liked? Is it to be respected? Is it to be powerful? Is it to be what is it? So if you say, well, I want to be well respected and I want to be powerful, then you realize your true self is someone who really is very special, and someone who really does require a position to do their true heart's work that means true respect. That doesn't mean that you create fear. That doesn't mean that you create anything. In our future, the only things that will be supported are things that are aligned with love. So if you're someone who says, my authentic self wants to be powerful, that means that you have to be powerful in love, because any other type of power will not be supported. And any other type of power will not serve you, and any other type of power is not your true, authentic, divine, harmonious self. This is more aligned with your life purpose. But when you start to see your life purpose and you start to see your desires, I think a lot of times, because our desires are so close to our consciousness, they're so close to our heart, we say, everyone wants the same thing. I sometimes think that. I think everyone wants to be a famous pop star cult leader, don't they? Isn't that just what everyone wants? And people say, no, I would really rather not anyone even know who I am. I would like to be hiding in the shadows. And that's where I feel happiest. And I say, what? So we have to remember that what we desire is unique. What we desire is special to us as individuals. Your desires are a key to who you are as a unique individual. So as you're going through your own understanding of who you are and you start to believe in who you are, it takes an immense amount of radical self-love. Because for me to stand up and say, I think that I am a pop star cult leader, when I'm just some person born in, the middle of America, and I have no special skill set necessarily that anybody appreciates. I just work like a job for a, normal amount of money, and I work really hard to just like get by, and I'm just a normal person, and I try to make art, but no one likes it. How dare I? I think our society says, how dare you think that you're special? You have to be extraordinary to be special. And at that time, I wasn't on paper, right? Nobody could have looked at me and said, you're extraordinary. But I had to say it to myself. And I had to say, I know that I am more than my situation. I know that I am more than I look like I am right now. I know that I am more than people see me. And people will fight you. They will try so hard to put you back into your box. They will try so hard to diminish your self-love. They will try so hard to tell you to be smaller, to make less noise, just to take up less space, because it makes them uncomfortable. Because they know that they're more than they are, but they were told to stay in their box, so that we are socialized to stay in our boxes. And everybody does it to each other. So when you're looking into finding out who your authentic self is, it takes incredible bravery. It takes incredible trust in your internal world, as Will brought up earlier. It takes incredible power and some radical self-love to stand up against external doubt, against people who don't believe in you, against even your physical reality. When I started making YouTube videos, I got all downvotes. I would get 10 views and 10 downvotes. I don't even know how that happened. I didn't get a single upvote. But I kept doing it. Because I knew in my potential. And I doubted it a lot. But I also knew that by following this path, it was making me happy. And I think that's something else. We don't have to worry so much about the result. It's not so much about, well, I'm going to be respected by the whole world and I'm not going to stop until that's true. It's not really about that. It's about recognizing that you deserve respect. You deserve to be loved for who you truly are. And that you love yourself in that way. And by starting from that point, and by starting from the place where you believe in yourself, other people will believe in yourself too. And the belief that you have in yourself is to be appreciated for who you really are, for the future you really wish you had, and for the gifts that you bring. In our society, we say that only certain types of people are special. We say that only certain types of attention, people who can sit and study and focus and regurgitate information and do specific tasks over and over again, can get high-paying jobs. We have a few options, people who can think creatively and start businesses and who have access to resources beforehand so they can start the business, those people get rewarded. It's more rare. And other than that, there's really very little reward. There are even smaller amounts of creative people who are creatively gifted who get rewarded by society. And by rewarded, I mean acknowledged, appreciated. When we think of your favorite musician, they're probably highly creative. And for every one musician who's highly creative, who's appreciated, who's in the public eye, there are thousands and thousands of unappreciated musicians working at, Nicki Minaj worked at Red Lobster. Janelle Monáe worked at Kinko's. This is true. And just because they aren't working at those places anymore doesn't mean that there aren't 10 more of them in that same chain who are just as talented and just as marvelous. But we don't allow people to be special. If you know somebody who's working at Red Lobster who's trying to start a rap career, what are you going to think of them? You're going to be like, okay, good luck, I guess. Like, maybe just stick to Red Lobster. Even if you don't say that, a lot of times that's what we think because we try so hard to keep people down. We don't appreciate them for who they really are. We don't appreciate them for the gifts that they bring. So what I'm saying is that each person brings a unique and special gift to this world. Ooh, I'm about to lose my domain. Nobody buy it. Hang on, I gotta do this. They gave me a warning yesterday. And I didn't do it because I was busy. So every person has their own unique gifts. And every person deserves to live out their truth. Oh, shit. Hang on. Oh, I have a grace period. Oh, that's good. They're so generous and so kind. Nobody buy Unicron.com. Hang on. This is an iconic moment. I just need to pay $13.16 to this. Hang on. Okay, we're good. Phew! We're good. Oh, my dad's like, looks like it expired just now. I will renew it. Someone tell my dad that we renewed it. Okay. So the main thing we're talking about is please, please, please listen to your heart. Listen to what you really want. Value who you are, even though no one else seems to value it. If you are aligned in love, you have every right to have all of your needs met. You have every right to have everything you desire, as long as it harms none. So the last thing I want to say is that as you're on this journey of understanding who you are, it is absolutely necessary to have isolation, because you need to find out who you are. Who you are right now is a product of all the people around you helping to shape you. You're a product of TV, of advertisements, of the movies, and of your family, of your education, of your schooling, of the expectations of who you believe you are. In Unicult, we call this narrative. It's the narrative of who you are and the story of your life. You think, well, I'm a child of these people. I'm like middle class. I'm disabled. I'm queer. I'm straight. I'm white. Whatever it is, these are stories we tell ourselves about who we are. You say, well, I'm a boy, so when you're a kid, you can remember when you're a kid and you say, I'm a boy, so I like boys' toys. The toys that are on TV that are advertised to boys, that's me. I fit into that. That's my story. And so we jump onto that and we start playing with boys' toys. And then if we like something that's a girl's toy, we say, well, that's a girl's toy. Maybe I like it, but it's not for me. So I'm not going to allow myself to like it. And that's really the root. That's really where it starts, is this conforming. And it's so much more than gender, but gender is such an obvious example of how this happens. Our parents do this to us all the time. When we're out with our parents when we're kids and they say, oh, like my parents were a little bit like fat phobic. They were like, oh, well, that person's like really probably eating too much or something. And so in my head, I had to be like, oh, well, I should make sure not to eat too much. They've since gotten better. But that was something, and they got that from their parents. Literally my grandparents. We try to keep people in boxes, and we try to keep ourselves in a box for safety, for inclusion, so that we can be part of our society. When you start to be who you really are and you start to say, I don't think that I'm a girl. I think that I actually don't have a gender. And people in your life who have not raised you to be that way, who have no understanding of what that means, who maybe they themselves have their own questions about gender, who have repressed their own genders, they say to you, oh, that's just ridiculous. And they say something about, your body, or they say something about how you have long hair, or they will try to keep you in that box. So, isolation and creating new communities, and this is like the most culty we get with Unicult about excommunicating your family. I understand sometimes why cults do have people excommunicate from their families, because in order to form new conscious frameworks, you have to break out of the old ones. Your family has a huge effect, no matter how woke you are, on your psyche and on your programming for acceptance and for love. When you take space from these old programs of expectation of who you are and who you should be, in order to become strong enough in yourself to stand up for who you really are, to stand up for what you really believe, to be strong in yourself, you come back to those old structures from a strong place, and you will actually change them. This isn't something that you need to do forever, because once you become strong in who you are, you can then become a light for your family. You can then become a light of an example. Not every family is going to accept their radical child for being who they are, but if you stand by it and you stand in love, let's say that you're gay and you say to your parents, I'm gay, and they freak out and they don't understand it. If you stay with them and you let them keep programming you, you'll say, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I shouldn't be gay. Okay, I'm straight. I'm going to be straight. No, I'm going to do it for my family. I'm going to be straight. They don't think I should be gay, so I'm going to be straight. And this is just one example of like this happens in the smallest insidious ways that you can't even see all of. This is an obvious example. So you try to repress your sexuality for your family, and then it becomes toxic and toxic and toxic to you. But if you take a little bit of space from your family and you figure out who you are, you talk to other people who are gay, you find communities online, you watch YouTube videos, you do your own research, you figure out where you stand, you get lots of information, lots of understanding for who you are, you believe yourself, you trust yourself, you allow your own internal garden to flourish. Then you can come back to your parents and you can say, listen, I know that this is hard. And here's some resources that I saw of people who have been in your situation. And here's where I'm at. And how can I build the bridge for you? to where I am, because I'm strong in who I am. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I need. And I understand you, and I can give you love. It takes time to know who you really are. It takes bravery. It takes a little bit of isolation, and it takes a new community building. You have to build a new community around yourself to support your new reality, to support who you really are, so that you can have new structures and programs in your brain for rewarding and understanding your authentic reality, so that your heart can be in harmony with everyone else's heart, so we can ascend into a utopian paradise where everyone can thrive and this planet can ascend into a state of bliss that we have never yet experienced. Spirit of Uni, we call you to this beautiful chat room today to bless every member. We say thank you for rescuing Unicron.com from my neglect. We say thank you for all the beautiful donations and all the beautiful members here who have said hello in the chat box. And we pray also for all the people who never say hello in the chat box, who just watch from the sidelines quietly, or who watch later on. We bless everyone's week, and we'll see you next week, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Uni bless.